Thanks for staying here on Joy News today. Now, 8 persons accused of helping to free the 13 suspects who were before a Kumasi Circuit Court for abusing the Ashanti Region Security Liaison Officer George J. appeared before a Kumasi Circuit Court earlier today. The 8 pleaded not guilty to charges of rescuing accused persons from lawful custody and disturbing the court. Let's speak to our man on the ground, Erastus Asaridonko, who joins us via phone. Good afternoon, Erastus.
Good afternoon, Bennett.
Can you share with us what exactly happened in court today when these 8 appeared?
Well, contrary to what happened at the KMA court the other time, this time around we have, beefed up security. I must say that you see well-built policemen armed to the teeth, two standing in front of the main entrance, 2 at the other entrance, and then about 6 of them armed, also standing at the entrance of the court. We had a mobile patrol vehicle standing there with some men in there as well, and then plainclothes CID personnel also standing in front of the court. Inside the court building, we have some armed men in there as well, and then the prison officer who brought them. These men were also handcuffed whilst they were sitting to each other. And it shows you the seriousness that the police service attached to this court sitting today. Now, they sat on one bench looking sober for some minutes. Some cases were called before they were called to the dock, and their handcuffs removed. They stood in there with their hands behind them, and then they read out their charges to them one by one, and then they pleaded not guilty to the 2 charges. Now, the facts of the case were read, as you have read in the papers and in the news media already, and then the lawyer for the accused persons, there were 4 in number, but leader of the council, Gary Nimako, rose up and told the judge that indeed this case has been blown out of proportion. He says he wanted to continue in the line that the NPP has some reservations as to how the media has handled this whole Delta Force issue. But then the judge told him that he wanted him to go straight to the point. And so he pleaded for bail, which was denied by Patricia Amponsa, her honor, and then they were handcuffed and led out of the court.
All right, Erastus, now we know that these 8 persons pleaded not guilty to both charges, one of rescuing people from lawful custody and 2 disturbing the court. What reason did they give to their pleading not guilty to the charges?
Well, lawyer for the accused persons, Gary Nimako, again told the judge that, one, the accused persons are not members of a group called Delta Force. He also said that the 8 persons were not arrested at the court premises. They were nowhere near the court premises. They were arrested somewhere in Fantinu town, which of course is close to Kumasi Polytechnic, now Kumasi Technical University. And so they were nowhere near the courtroom. And so he says they are not guilty of the offense. And he's going to show in subsequent trials why he says so.
And did prosecution make any statement?
The judge asked whether the prosecution objects or has anything to say concerning the application for bail made by Gary Nimako, lawyer. But then they said no, they have nothing to say. And it was represented by the Jupol himself, the man in charge of prosecutions at the regional police command.
And Erastus, we know these people would appear before court on the 18th of April, is it?
Exactly.
Thank you very much for those updates, our man Erastus Asaridonko, coming to us from Kumasi, where the 8 persons who've been accused of freeing 13 members of the Delta Force who were before court last week for abusing the Regional Security Liaison Officer, Mr. George J. in Kumasi. Now, they've been remanded in prison custody to reappear on the 18th of April. We'll follow this case keenly and bring you updates as and when they are available. Away from the Ashanti region, Girls for Rent, that's the title of the latest Joy News Hotline documentary on the miners in Accra's Red Light District. Joy News' reporter Favor Nunu went undercover to reveal the pimps controlling the girls and the abuse these miners are subjected to.
Nightlife in Accra, the capital ACCRA. Hey, it's only Friday, won't you imagine Saturday?
Prostitution is illegal in Ghana, yet it is openly practiced in many cities and towns. In Accra, for example, an area called Kwale is noted for its prostitutes. In Kumasi, Edum in Swase has many brothels. In Takrady, Ifiakuma and Kwesimentim are suburbs known to have many female sex workers. But for teenage sex workers, the Circle Railway Station has become known as the headquarters where these girls comfortably operate. I'm on a mission to find some of these girls who crawl throughout the night renting their bodies to strangers in exchange for money, protected by their pimps who stand distance away from them, monitoring everything that happens. I was told to visit the rail lines where most of these girls operate from. Without being given specific details of where to find them, I started off from Accra and drove several hours tracking the rail lines moments after reaching the interchange.
Hey, now you know the other phone. Hey, 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 hey.
I see a group of people racing towards a point where a young man is said to be attacking a young girl in miniskirts suspected to be a child sex worker. He smacks her with a log and she drops on the floor. She's up on her feet in an effort to escape her attacker, but he's too weak to make it up. She falls back on the ground. The crowd swells so fast around her, with various perceptions of who she is and why she was under attack.
People that's just ignorant and scared of the truth.
So the man behind the story, Favor Nuno, is actually here with me in studio to talk about this. Favor, that chaotic scene, yeah. I'm sure it wasn't planned. Obviously, you chanced on it. But it helped tell your story better.
It did tie into the entire piece that we wanted to put together. So it was around 1, 2 a.m. at dawn where myself and my cameraman were going around town trying to track some of these girls. Then at the Circle Interchange, within the streets, just in the middle of the street, we just noticed that some people were actually rushing towards a certain point, and so we actually had to park in the middle of the road, put on the hazard as if to say the car was messed up, and then luckily we had the secret cam on, so we both rushed out. So in that scene, we rushed out of the car to examine what exactly was happening, and surprisingly, it was a child sex worker who was under attack. The guy who was actually attacking her, we understand two theories about who he is, whether he himself is a pimp or the fact that he happens to be a client who must have been sort of swindled by this child sex worker, and he was abusing her. Surprisingly, people who were present would not do anything to help her. And beyond that, the only gentleman who comes in trying to stop this man from attacking the girl becomes the next victim. He was also under attack. And so
from the same gentleman? From the
same gentleman. So it's chaos everywhere. I mean, these guys who patronize these girls or operate as pimps are wicked, they are dangerous, they'll do anything that they think is right. And so that's the sort of threats that these girls are exposed to.
Interesting documentary, and I can't wait to see the full documentary that will air at 6:30 p.m. tonight. But how long did it take you to put this together?
It's been 5 months. Started in October, November, and then December there was a break because of the elections, and then we came back again in January, February, and then by March we were able to wrap it up, and then we've been putting together the pieces within the month of April.
So were there instances you thought your life was in danger? Because I'm looking at this chaotic scene and I'm thinking to myself,
quite a number of instances. There was one time where we heard about an 8-year-old girl who works as a child sex worker, and so we were told where to find her, and myself and my cameraman, we found an interesting way of going there to dig out that story by doing one other story. Meanwhile, we had our secret cameras trying to locate her and find her and then take her out of that space to do an interview. For some reason, someone probably got a tip-off, and we saw guys mobilizing from somewhere, and a guy who happens to be one of our affiliates on the ground called and said, listen, some people are coming after you. They are mobilizing. Leave now. And we had to find space, try and then escape. We've been there for a couple of times, so we knew some of the hideaways and all that. So we used that to escape parked our car somewhere else, and then we joined the car, moved. Apparently, these guys had our numbers for some reason, and they were calling, asking, where are you? We understand you're here. What are you up to? And so it was quite threatening and shaky. We had to put it on hold for a while and then go back again to the same place. It was all adrenaline and tension and all that.
Do you still feel threatened?
Well, sometimes you do feel threatened, especially when you don't know who may have been hurt or maybe disturbed by the expose and therefore may want to attack you of some sort.
So who was your cameraman on the ground?
David Ankuma. He did very well. He did very well. So in this scene, he had the secret cam strapped to his chest. And so immediately once we saw the scene, you'd realize that in the other footage, the real one, you'd see him jump out of the vehicle and running towards the point. And that was his voice. Hey, hey, hey. At that point, the man had diverted his anger towards the other gentleman who had come to defend this weak girl. And so he did very well, going to every space everywhere with me. And it was all filmed late in the night, between the hours of 11 to about 3-4 a.m.
All right, Favor, 5 months, your life in danger. What do you want to achieve with this?
We want these girls to have a future. We don't think that having these girls out there on the street being exploited by these men presents to them any future that they can be proud of. These kids are our future. As a people, as a nation, we need to know how to protect the most vulnerable, which is these kids. And so, in my opinion, this is something to put out there and to inform government, because they know about it, but for some reason, no action has been taken. So, government should take responsibility, move to the rail lines, clear the place. This is government property. Take these guys who are exploiting these girls away and put these girls into school, those of them who want to be educated and want to have a better future tomorrow. All
right, Favor, finally, what should people expect this evening at 6:30 p.m. when this airs?
Well, it's going to be interesting. It is interesting scenes, interesting revelations, and a bit of a real feel of what happens. Some sex scenes, maybe, rated 18, so well. Viewers should be cautioned. Don't allow kids to sit in. But it is actually presenting the facts, the details of what we found, just the way it is. And we add a few ethics to it to make sure that things are quite clean and all that. So yes, it puts everything out there just as we found it.
Thank you very much, Favor Nuno. And is it airing in 2 episodes, or are you seeing the full thing
it's
tonight?
It's in 2 episodes. So the first airs tonight at 6:30, and then the second continues tomorrow. And then we have the radio version on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. on the Super Morning Show.
Thank you very much, Favor Nuno. Don't forget, tonight, 6:30 p.m. here on your Joy News channel, Girls for Rent will be airing. Let's watch that particular documentary and start the conversation on how to free these young girls. Away from girls on rent, the debate on how to solve Accra's flooding problem continues. Joy News' Matilda Wemega visited Jamestown after Sunday's rain to find out how the rains affected traders and residents. She reports of choked drains and water flowing into shops.
So right behind me is the Zoom Lion, right in action, trying to gather the filth that has been exposed following yesterday's rain. And as usual, within this part of Accra, that is within the Abosokai, the slightest rain, the whole place gets flooded. Yesterday, I'm told, due to the whole day rain, the entire place got flooded because of the drains that are very small. So due to that, this particular area was flooded. And this morning, the Zoom Lion is around to clear the debris that has been left as a result of yesterday's rain. But I have some people here who work within this place who were certainly affected by yesterday's rain. I'm going to be interacting with them to find out from them what exactly has been the issue. This particular spot indeed always get flooded with the slightest rain that comes in. Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for having us on Joy News. But let me first find out from you, what do you think is the major cause of flooding within this particular place, within Abosokai?
And the major part is that if it rains, it comes from Kaneshi, Kasua, the street, the high street. So the pressure coming in, it gets to the point that it cannot flow to the roundabout wall. So everywhere gets flooded. But Abosokai here too, the problem we have here is the gutter. The gutter is too small. And at least we have to have a do drainage here, but the gutter is too small for the pressure that comes. So later you see that everywhere is flooded. That's why every time we have this problem every year.
And I'm told sometimes this rainwater even gets to your shops. It enters your things that you sell. How bad is it? How bad is it? Tell me.
Mommy, this thing that you are saying, let me tell you, it's about 10 years now. If it rains, no, every shops they lose their properties, everything they lose because of the rain. If you get to the MTN, the same problem. They are facing the same pressure there. Everywhere is flooded. The stores, unless they remove their ties before they can remove the water before they can put back the store back. Because it's everywhere. Yeah, the problem we have here is more than 10 years now. And try to do something for us here. But if he doesn't do this job for us, we are not going to like him. But if he does this thing, we're going to like him because of that thing that he has done for us.
The filthy and all this thing that we are seeing is not for the government or anybody. It's from one-on-one individual. You know what I mean? The government is supposed to make a heavy important law to implement so that people who are throwing like rubbish, like polythene bag, like pure water rubbers, they should know the way they can dump it. Anybody just throw anyhow. There's no any law that governs anybody in action when it do. So when anybody just drink water, just pull it down here. When somebody to just pull it down, all this can.
You are here. What in your small way have you been doing to address some of this issue? Because the mayor doesn't live among you. How do you intend to address this issue about people disposing refuse here?
If somebody dispose something and you want to tell the president what he's doing is not good, man, he'll get annoyed and insult you because there's no law. There's nothing that force somebody that you don't need to put anybody in anywhere you like it. So because there's no law, when they must enforce law, implement somebody like, oh, if you told this one you are being in problem, there'll be a punishment. Yeah, I mean, when somebody do it, we can do something about it. But because there's no law from the app, how can we do it?
There are laws. There are sanitation laws.
It doesn't work. That's all I can see because I don't know that situation where any law is there. But I know that the law doesn't work.
You see the drainage over there. It passes through, and this side have already choked. You see, so the water is not flowing very well. They're supposed to drill it very hardly for it to prevent it go away to the Kofi River. Yes.
So what do you think can be done to desilt that particular place? Because from what I see, it's already choked.
Yes, man. Okay, they've told us they will break this area.
Who told you?
Oh, they have already told us. They have already told us, and automatically this road is major area to Kolebu, so it have already hung. You see, that's why they didn't have so always know it reinforced panel then here all choke. Because this thing, the dust and everything, the rubbers and everything have choked here, the other side here, and the major over here. So always here, there, flood area.
But so as we rightly know, but this is the spare parts hub within this particular area. We are here this morning because of the major flooding whenever it rains. Apart from the fact that this place becomes more trouble whenever it rains, the rains also enters their shops and then destroy most of their things that they put out for sale here. So they are calling government for urgent measures to be put in place to desilt these drains that have been choked. You can see it already in the visuals that this place is already choked. So we'll be moving to other areas as well to find out how bad yesterday's rain left many traders along the city.
Well, some unfortunate news you're bringing you now. A mine blast in Pawnee in the Upper East region last week caused the death of 7 people. A funeral is underway for the victims. We go over to our man, Albert Sorry. Hello, Albert.
Hello, Bennett.
What exactly, we know that it's a blast that caused the death of these people, but how exactly did it occur?
Well, for now, the information is a bit scanty, but what we are learning is that these are miners who may be doing their work illegally, and so usually they go underground and they have their own ways of going about their mining activities. So apparently on Thursday night, in the course of their work, some of them inhaled some fumes while they were underground. And as a result, they started suffering some effects. So they were rushed to the hospital, and unfortunately, some of them have died.
All right.
The information didn't come out too early, and we are only learning about it this morning. But police are still investigating it. What some of the residents are saying is that usually, when they are underground, there is another mine that belongs to some indigenes of the area, but who are working with some Chinese who provide some technical service to them. And so the accusation we are hearing now is that the smoke that killed these people may have come from the Chinese, the mine where the Chinese work. But I've spoken to the PRO for that mine, and he says that they did their work, the normal way, and they didn't record any accidents at all at their end. And they've also only learned about the death of these people today.
All right.
And the police have called them over to, help in the investigation. So for now, it's not exactly clear what may have caused the death. We are still trying to speak to the police.
All right, we hear these 7 who died are suspected to be minors. Can you confirm that, please?
Yes, they are minors, but they were working in an underground pit that, they usually used to do their work. So, yes, they were minors, but they don't work with this Chinese mine that has been mentioned. All
right, and Albert, sorry, before you go, what about those who've been injured? Any updates on their health status?
Yes, because it happened 4 days ago, it's still difficult to trace these people, especially since we are just learning about it. But we are talking to the police, and when we have leads as to who these people are, we'll try and locate their family and possibly tell if there are still some survivors who can speak to us on exactly what happened.
All right. Thank you for those updates, Albert Sorry, a man in the Upper East region, bringing us some updates on that rather unfortunate incident. Well, my colleague Justice Baidu was in the town of Pawnee recently to do a story on mining. Let's take a look at it.
Tears of a mother remembering a deep sense of loss. This is Ayimpok. Just 3 days before I met her, her 14-year-old son, Abu, fell into a gold mine pit, hit his head to a rock, and died instantly, more than 500 meters underground. Her son was one of hundreds of child miners digging for gold in mine sites locally known as Galamsey in the Talensi district.
The last time he came home was a Saturday. When he was approaching home, he mentioned my name from afar. I said my son is home. It was a happy time. I had missed him, so we talked. He even gave me 5 cedis when he was going back into the mines. He even gave the little children in the house money. All these are the reasons why I miss my son.
So on that walala oh nibira sultanda kwetaba si kabila ya tom la walala mbomi me zangre meng deng lo ansire maya zila la har mbomi ma edem meng si
At the cemetery where he was buried, the boys who knew him in the Galamsey site have come to see his grave and pay homage. Such deaths are common in many Galamsey sites across Ghana, but as several of these sites are run illegally, many fatalities go unreported for fear of a government clampdown.
This is what we do well.
Back in the Galamsey site where Abu died, many children are still hard at work. Many have fallen out of school, like 17-year-old Francis Asesandan.
I left school when I was in class 3. There was no money. If I had the opportunity, I would stay in school. Sometimes I miss the things I used to learn when I was in school.
In this region alone, more than 20,000 children of school-going age are out of the classroom, and some of them could be found in places like this one, dangerous mine sites, risking it all in search of gold. Here, there are only 2 rules: get rich quick or die trying.
David Pualua works with child rights campaign group Africate. When his organization did a census of minors in Galamsey mines in the Talensi Napdam district alone, they counted more than 3,000 children.
From our experience, we believe that parents are largely responsible for what we're experiencing in the mines. We still have instances where parents wake up in the morning and then they call their children and ask, oh, I need 5 cities to go and maybe to do something, to buy food or to drink pito or something. And you think the best person to ask is to ask your child to give you money. And so some parents are being very irresponsible, and that is pushing children to go out there and then to do all of these things.
Well, there you have it, really disturbing images and stories there. But my colleague Justice Bedo is here in the studio with me. Justice, so you actually traveled to the Upper East region. A lot of people are aware of the situation in terms of Galamsey when it comes to the Eastern, the Western, the Bono Ahafo, and parts of the Ashanti region. But in the Upper East region, this is happening and children are involved. What's the situation there like? And
again, Benis, that's how serious the situation is. What complicates it, especially for mines, Galamsey mines in the Upper East and the Upper East, West region, is that these mines are very far off from the major towns. And so this recent blast happened on Thursday, I'm told by my sources there. More than 7 people died in there. And it's only today that we are getting to know of it. So it tells you that several of such deaths go on that end up unreported. One, because these pits are run illegally, and so attracting any media attention onto themselves then calls for a government clampdown. Also because the children themselves find this as a huge center where they could come and get money that they otherwise would not have. Many parts in that part of Ghana have a rainy season of just less than 5 months. And so for about 6 months in the year, life is virtually on hold, where there's very little economic activity and many people have nothing to live on. And so places like Pawnee, which stretches from the eastern side of the Upper East Regional Capital, which is Bolgatanga, right down to places like Gushegu, Wali, are all areas where such mines are huge, and they are in very, very remote areas where it had to reach communities where people would hardly get there. And the sad reality is that there are thousands of young people of school-going age who are actively involved in this mine. And unlike what we see in parts of the Western, Eastern, and the Ashanti regions, these people have to dig really deep pits, because it's not easy to access the gold as it is to do so in other parts of the country. So their strategy seems to be different. And more risky. Yes, because if you mine gold in places like in the Western region, in the Eastern region, they do more of surface mining, which is then has effect on the water bodies and also on the plantations. But up north, they do more of digging deep, and so you have mine pits that go as deep as about 800 meters underground, and you have people staying underground for days. And in instances where they use poisonous chemicals in doing the blast, just so they can gather the ore and then go on to get the gold. There are instances like what has just happened, where the poisonous gases get into the pit, and then if you're unlucky, like these 7 people who have just died, you are part of the casualties of a very big problem that I think that we should address our minds to as a country.
Thank you very much, Justice Bedu, for those updates. Well, the Minerals Commission says it is overwhelmed by the activities of illegal miners across the country. Many Ghanaians have risen up against these illegal miners who continue to pollute water bodies and destroy aquatic life. Most rivers in the country have been destroyed due to what, well, we here in Ghana popularly call galamsey. Last week, for instance, the Minerals Commission stated it was considering a suspension of the issuance of new licenses for small-scale mining to enable an overhaul of the country's mining sector as part of efforts to deal with illegal mining. The Deputy Chief Inspector of Mines in charge of policy at the Minerals Commission, Ampon Sateria, spoke with me earlier on News Desk.
Totally overwhelmed for the fact that the Commission, we can only report on incidents. We don't have the power to cause arrests. We don't have the power to prosecute anybody. So when we identify these areas where this menace is actually taking place, we report to the law enforcement agencies. And then they then take it up from there.
And is the Commission's work centralized? Do you have people on the ground in the places where these activities occur?
Yeah, we do.
And are they enough to deal with the situation? For example, in terms of noticing for who has the license to operate or not, and even for those who have the license to operate, whether they are abiding by the rules of mining in this country?
Good. I would say that the Commission's work is not centralized in Accra. We have offices, we have regional offices in Kofi, we have one in Kumasi, we have one in Takoradi. Then we also have district offices in Asimfosu, Dunkwao, Asankregwa, Takwa, Bebieni, Bolga, Wa, Konongo. So we have actually men in all these places, but as to the numbers, for me, I would say they are woefully inadequate. So even one of the proposals that we are trying to come out with is that we are going to appeal to the National Service Secretariat. This time for those graduates who have actually done the earth sciences. Earth science, I'm talking about mining engineering, geology, mineral processing, surveying, environmental sciences. Normally, most of these people are actually taken to schools to go and teach. This time we are going to propose that at least all the district assemblies where mining takes place, at least they should have about 10 of such personnel. Then together with our mining district office, we will then be able to actually work out a modality so that we can have a lot of coverage for these our men.
He also asked the military to intervene in the fight against galamsey.
Illegal mining. It's not like me taking a machete just to go and then harvest a plantain and run away. They stay there for months, if not years. So for me, and I think it's a very strong thinking of the CU and the entire commission now is that we are going to appeal to the commander-in-chief to actually declare all the water bodies a military zone. Once you do that, because I know that the minister actually gave an ultimatum, I think for about 3 weeks. The days will soon come to pass. I think 3 days before the elapse of this ultimatum, I will plead and still request that the military will actually do low flying over these water bodies. And even if anything at all, even drop leaflets to all these people and tell them that a day after this, now we have taken over. And I know that for a military man, nobody actually vote to bring him to where he is. So for them, that kind of political view is actually taken off their heads. And then they will act. I know the strategies and the tactics that the military have to act on this.
But Executive Director of Child's Right International, Bright Appiah, disagrees. He says a military intervention is not the way to go.
If we are taking such steps to deal with it, which of course we all acknowledge the fact that galamsey is not something that is good because of its consequences that it comes with. So once we want to deal with it, then of course, in the process, we also need to acknowledge that there are social implications that we face in the process, which has to do with human rights violations, children's rights, as well as dealing with the labor force itself. So if you want to take that step, which of course we say that is a good step, but in the process, we need to also attach the social bit of it. I know that most of the proposals that have come out now has to do with the intervention of the military. We know how they also administer discipline, which of course we think that once the state has committed itself to certain protocols, there are certain principles that we can also take out of the equation in dealing with this issue. Where we work, for instance, when you go to Pawnee, Sankore, and then even Tepa, is one of the areas that we have that difficulty, which we have even conducted research to even find out how many children are in all
because
kinds
I was coming to the statistics.
Exactly.
Do you have any statistics you
Yes,
want to share?
of course. We have conducted a research in that area, which we interviewed about 3,992 households in this district that we visited, trying to find out the state of child labor situation in that area, looking at the various sectors. We looked at mining, we looked at fishing, we looked at cocoa, and we realized that most children who work in those areas involve themselves in mining, in this case in Galamsey. Because of that, they also abandon school and go there to also do, because of the daily amount that they get. So clearly, it is something that we cannot just say that we want to take action and just leave it that way. But I think that there is also some child protection issue that we have to deal with in there, social protection issue that we have to deal in there, so that at the end of the day, implementing this policy will not be violating some of the things that we have also enshrined, because we have allowed the activity to go on for a while. So once we would want to address it now, I don't think that strictly applying the military intervention will be the way to go.
Mr. Appiah also emphasized that children as young as 7 years are in Galamsey operations and urged for measures to deal with the situation.
If you look at the statistical service survey that they did, clearly point out to you that there are a number of children who are involved in Galamsey. In this case, children who are below the age of 17 years, even below but the majority of them falls within between 12 and 15 years who are doing that kind of work. So that is from the national figure. If you also pick what we have done, we have identified to 5,000 children within this state district who are out of school, who are engaged.
5,000 children?
Yeah, over 5,000 children.
Which districts?
And Pawnee, Tepa, and then Sankore.
Okay.
We are currently looking at Wasa East. There are some districts. Amansia, we are also looking at Amansia now, trying to gather data on it. We are looking at about 7 districts in addition to the 3, so that it will make 10, so that at least we can do a clear analysis of what is happening to children in terms of the labor situation that they find themselves in. But as at now, the figure that we have is that we have interviewed 3,992 households, of which the membership of the household is over 10,000. Then on the basis of that, you realize that the children in that household, they form almost about 5,000 children, which of course, majority of them are not in school. So which also points to the fact that when we went further to do the area that they are involved in terms of the child labor situation, most of them are involved in the mining sector, of which we have identified 119 who are in the worst forms of child labor, which is so serious.
A government delegation is in Akwetia in the eastern region to monitor issues on Galamsey. Maxwell Agbagba spoke earlier to the acting coordinating director of the Denchemore District Assembly, Samuel Ochri Obri.
Oil palm, citrus, and then we have crops like cassava, cocoyam, plantain, and then vegetables. Yeah, and then we have commercial mining, diamond in the district.
Yeah. But you mentioned some of the challenges as school dropout.
Exactly. I think with the upsurge of this Galamsey, mining, it has a lot of consequences on the economy. Yeah. First and foremost, we have the arable land, which is meant for production of food, and even export crops have been sold to the contractors. So the size of the arable land has been reduced. And you know the consequences. Some of the crops are exportable, where we even get foreign exchange. And this has reduced productivity. And then secondly, it has a lot of health implications. Normally, these young guys, when they migrate to the district, they've been chasing the schoolgirls because they are vulnerable. Because of the poverty level in the district, they are vulnerable and they fall as prey. Yeah. So by so doing, they impregnate some of them, and then the HIV has gone high. Infection rate has gone high. Of late, we had a review session with the Health Service Directorate. That's where we had the records. I chaired the function. So we got to know that HIV rate, the infection rate has gone high. And secondly, teenage pregnancy too is on the ascendancy. And then again, there has been a lot of school dropouts because the young boys, they normally abandon the school and go chasing for money. And then normally with the galamsey, some of the pits are left uncovered. So that's where the mosquitoes breed. And then when the mosquitoes breed, it brings a lot of malaria. So the malaria epidemic is now also on the ascendancy. Yeah. And then, okay, with the water, I don't know whether it's the cause of the pollution. Most of the streams in the area too are polluted. You know, normally when they mine the diamond, they have to go and wash it. That's where they pollute some of the waters. And that's the only source of water to the villages.
So all these problems that you've mentioned are connected with the mining of diamond.
Exactly.
Here in Akwitia.
Exactly.
So the people are actually mining for diamond, not even gold. And all these challenges are coming as a result
of gold in some of the areas. Okay. Yeah, but I learned you are specifically here for diamond. Okay. So these are some of the challenges we face with the mining.
You can join the conversation in the fight against galamsey on our social media platforms with the hashtag #NoToGalamsey. This is News Today with me, Benis Abubedu. Business with Emmanuel Abuajiriafe is up next.